I can't believe it's actually happening. Fortnite has fallen. The mythical dragon that the games industry has been chasing for the better part of a decade, the success that they have been trying to emulate pretty much across the entire games industry, is in so much trouble that their CEO came out and flat out said, we are losing players, we are losing money, we need to lay off 1,000 people, and we still need an additional $500 million in cost savings. Good God.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand just how valuable it is for the games industry to realize that this game is mortal, that it bleeds just like everything else. And the problems that Epic is having, the problems that Fortnite is having, is going to send a shockwave across the industry. Now, to be fair, the problems that they're going through, the loss of players that Fortnite is seeing, well, it's a lot. Believe me, you guys are going to be pretty shocked by this. It's not the only part of their problem. The issues that they're suffering from are the same ones that are basically plaguing all of the Western games industry, where they have too many employees. They are spending way too much money. They're not paying attention to the audience that they already have. And because of that, they put themselves into a weakened position where even just the slightest change in temperature is a crisis to these guys. So today, we're going to be talking about how much trouble Fortnite and Epic are in right now, what this actually means for the games industry, and also how some analysts are saying that really it's Eastern games at fault. You know,
because they're the ones that listen to the players and make products that the players want. That's the whole reason. Literally, that's it.
Sometimes it pays to be right. But before that, a bit of a confessional. Today's video is sponsored by Helix Mattress, and I have been insanely excited to talk about this. Mostly because I'm a terrible sleeper. Historically, I've always had a problem with it. I run hot as hell, so I have fans and AC and all kinds of different things that are going, and a lot of background noise for tinnitus because of playing music and things like that. So I didn't really expect for a mattress to change my life, but it did. I went on their site and I took their sleep quiz, and it matched me with the Midnight Lux. It was super quick and only took
Mattresses are extremely important for your sleep. I got to know that after I got finally a good mattress. Oh my God, the difference is like day and night, literally.
About 2 minutes. And honestly, it made me realize just how much I was messing up my sleep, because 1 in 3 adults don't even get the recommended 7 to 9 hours. And I definitely wasn't one of them. And you guys don't know how much this messes with your life. It can mess with your focus, your decision making, or even just your day-to-day energy. But since switching, I've been sleeping way deeper and waking up feeling actually rested instead of just dragging myself through the day. And they also give you a 120-night sleep trial and a lifetime warranty. You can actually make sure if this is something that's actually worth it for you without any pressure. I would recommend at least checking this out. Go and take their quiz, see what mattress lines up with you specifically, and see if it can change you like it changed me. So use the link in the description, use the QR code on screen. Right now, it is Sleep Awareness Month, so you guys get 20% off any
Sleep Awareness Month. Something no one gives a fuck about. Like always.
Mattress that you want to pick up. I cannot recommend this enough. Thank you to Helix for sponsoring today's video, and also thank you to Helix for fixing my sleep. I never thought I'd ever be around to be able to make this video. Fortnite has been the games industry's golden child for nearly a decade now. It's largely responsible for the live service boom, for the rise of battle royales, and honestly, I think it makes perfect sense. Why? Because since launch, Fortnite has reportedly made over $42 billion. It's pulled in over 650 million registered...
What?
For $42 billion.
$42 billion in total? Imagine having made $42 billion just with one game, and your company is not making a profit. That game not making a profit. What the hell is going? How incompetent is the leadership in this company?
It's pulled in over 650 million registered players and still has around 110 active players just reported in 2026. It earns more than GTA 5 and Minecraft combined, and it averages around 14 million peak concurrent players day to day. To put that into perspective, that's basically like half of the existing player base on Steam at a given time, all piling into one game at once.
Wow.
Fortnite has launched careers for content creators. It helped make one of the biggest streams in gaming history possible, with over 600,000 people turning in to watch Drake and Ninja play back in 2021. It blurred the lines between gaming and pop culture with crossovers in damn near every corner of media, from celebrities to
Yeah.
movies to other games as well. It pioneered the virtual concerts as well, with Travis Scott pulling in over 12 million players and opening the door to even more events after that throughout the years. Now, I've never really brought this up, and some of you guys are probably going to be surprised by this, but while I have a lot of criticisms for Epic as a company, I have always held a lot of respect for Fortnite, because as a platform, they just kept pioneering. They kept doing things that were experimental. They just kept evolving. They were never afraid of trying something new, whether that meant new modes or huge map changes or just full-on overhauls to the game itself. It became this game that was maybe not made for everybody, but anybody could play it. And it was
It's absolutely not made for
a
everybody.
huge reason that Sony and other platforms finally gave in on crossplay. It lowered the hardware barrier by proving a massive multiplayer game could run on nearly any piece of hardware. And while I'm not exactly thrilled with how much they have normalized live service, they avoided pay to win right from the start. They always kept it to monetization on cosmetics only. And they also set a standard on how much free content a game should offer players when it's a free-to-play game. But the sad truth of the matter is that the games industry just never learned the right lessons from Fortnite. Investors and executives just saw the money that they were making, and they just spent billions of dollars chasing their profits instead of trying to understand what made it work. A game
Because they're stupid. It's that simple. They are stupid. They don't understand that games are primarily a consumer product for people to enjoy, to have fun with. They are just, they're literally just like movies. Would you expect a movie to make $42 billion? No. Why would you? Makes no sense. Would you make a movie live service? No, of course not. That's retarded. Why would you? So why do you do it with games? Because in games, live service can work if you're doing it right. Like Grinding Gear games does it. They're doing fine. They are making a profit. Way smaller company, way smaller games, making a profit. Why does Epic Games seemingly doesn't have the ability to do that? What's going on there? There must be something really, really wrong with that company. There must be, right? Because otherwise you can't explain this.
this influential, this dominant, was just treated like it was something that was untouchable, a machine that would just keep printing money forever. So these guys convinced themselves that this was the model that they needed to follow, the safest bet for the business, the success that every studio should try to copy. And now that illusion is finally starting to crack.
That's dumb.
Now, it was only just a couple weeks ago that Epic announced a roughly 15% increase to V-Bucks, the Fortnite in-game currency. The explanation they gave was that the cost of running Fortnite has gone up and that they needed help raising money to pay the bills. At the time, this just kind of felt like vague posting, but then just 2 weeks later, Epic would announce that they were laying off 1,000 employees and trying to cut another $500 million in operating costs because far fewer players are playing Fortnite. I had to do a double take on this because I thought this was Ubisoft or something like that. The New York Times reported on this in an article titled, "Epic Games Lays Off 1,000 Employees, Citing Fortnite Slump." They write, the video game company Epic Games is laying off more than 1,000 employees, it said on Tuesday, citing a drop in the amount of time that people are spending playing Fortnite. The downturn in Fortnite engagement that started in 2025 means that we're spending significantly more than we are making. And we have to make major cuts to keep the company funded, Tim Sweeney, the company's chief executive, wrote in a blog post. This
How is this game not making a profit? In my eyes, it's impossible it's impossible for that to happen. I mean, how is this company so broken that they can't make a profit out of from Fortnite? How is this even a thing? It has to be a problem from the top. It has to be. What the hell? And also funny that, I'm now wondering, do they make a profit on, licensing out the engine? Does that even make a profit for them? Or is the engine so expensive to make and maintain that that's not making a profit either? That's actually something we should all worry about, because what if Epic Games goes under? Then all of a sudden Unreal Engine is gone. Oh my god, what are all the game studios doing that use that engine? They actually would have to start work on the engine themselves. That would lead to problems.
Layoff, together with over $500 million of identified cost savings in contracting, marketing, and closing some open roles, puts us in a more stable place. The cut represents about 20% of the workforce at Epic Games, a company spokeswoman said. It was the second time in recent years that the company, which is based in North Carolina, had announced major job cuts. In 2023, Epic Games laid off about 830 employees, or about 16% of its workforce, citing lower profit margins for Fortnite. "I'm sorry we're here again," Sweeney wrote in his blog post. Some of the challenges Epic Games is facing are problems for the wider video game industry. Sweeney wrote, slower growth, weaker spending, a drop in sales for new video game consoles compared to the previous generation of consoles, and game.
Well, yeah, because the new generation was plagued with problems that didn't even... Well, the problem was AI. AI and scalpers and stuff like that. Or was that the generation before that? I don't even remember. In my head, that all blurs together in a cloud of, oh my god, the world is going to shit. Because we also have to remember that consoles are just AMD machines, because they are just running on AMD hardware. Just like computers. They are just AMD machines with something else than Windows or Linux on them. At least in case of PlayStation. No idea what OS they are using. Most likely something they created themselves, maybe. I don't know.
Games competing for time against other increasingly engaging forms of entertainment. Despite Fortnite remaining one of the most successful games in the world, we've had challenges delivering consistent Fortnite magic with every season. We're only in the early stages of returning to mobile and optimizing Fortnite for the world's billions of smartphones, Sweeney wrote. Now, I'm not sure what console sales have to do with less people playing Fortnite, a game that you could quite literally play on just about any single device, but he's not wrong about the game struggling to keep up with that Fortnite magic. There was a bump back with that Star Wars crossover they had with the AI Darth Vader that everybody was trying to get to say increasingly deranged shit, but outside of moments like that, the seasonal content just hasn't had the same pull or even the same baseline level of quality. Chapter 7 had a long list of issues: frequent crashes, control problems, movement problems, invisible players, a map design that made it harder to navigate, so people really couldn't see any of the new points of interest that they put into it, and that drop in quality has shown up pretty quick. Circana's Matt Piscatella reported that PlayStation users, who make up 35% of active players, and Xbox users, who make up 31%, saw their playtime fall from 21 hours and 19 hours in 2025 to 16 hours and 15 hours respectively. That
doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. It is. If you know how to math and statistics, that's a big drop.
That is a massive drop, and it reflects the game not only losing time, but also attention and momentum. So what's behind all of this? Well, funny you ask, because it seems like the titan that helped set the trend for live service games has now become the trend chaser themselves. Fortnite has lost a lot of attention to Roblox, and in response to this, Epic has shifted their entire focus and strategy towards user-generated content instead of their own content, which makes their own content suffer as a result of it. Now, creators can go in.
Who could have guessed? Who could have guessed that would happen? With exception of everyone with a brain. I think there's nothing more to say about that, right?
and they can make their own games and they can monetize those games through cosmetic revenue sharing, something that Tim Sweeney has said has already grown into a $400 million economy. The problem is that those creator earnings are tied directly to where that player is spending their time, whether that's in the core game or in a user generated experience or a mix of both. So while yes, it is creating revenue, it's also cutting directly into Fortnite's own ecosystem and their own money. This is essentially money that these guys would have been making on their own, but now they're just giving a cut to these creators to hopefully try to grow into something like Roblox. Now, while losing players and
But you saved what? You saved the work power to make the games. So what is the problem here? That shouldn't be a problem. This should just be more money on the money you already make. What is the problem? Is it that you make less money there than people would spend in your game if they hadn't this other game that's just in your game? I mean, what are we talking about here? But then we also have to account for Roblox never having made a profit ever. And yes, Roblox has never made a profit, but it's still around. Why? I don't know. Good question. Because investors pumping money into that company because they think, oh yeah, it's going to make massive amounts of money. But even if they make a massive amount of money, if they don't make a profit, they will still fail. I mean, that's literally just that's elementary school math here. This isn't magic.
playtime is obviously going to hurt this company, this is still not the real root of their problems. The problem that they have is actually the one that's eating the rest of the industry alive right now, where they were successful, but they just did not build themselves to stay successful. They built themselves to overextend.
Yeah.
I mean, even after cutting 1,000 employees, Epic is still a company with over 4,000 developers split across Unreal Engine and Fortnite, a game that under no circumstances should require that much overhead to be able to sustain itself.
Yeah.
Now, on top of that, Epic has also torched billions of dollars in their lawsuits with Apple and Google, something that I view as an objectively good deed to society. I will give them that because both of these companies were and largely still are running effective monopolies on their storefronts, but this is a company that is spending increasingly more money, upwards of $4.2 billion a year now, to run a single game, a single engine, and a single storefront. And if I have
Oh, yeah, okay, I now see where the problem is. Yeah, that's not sustainable. What are you doing? What are you doing? That's not sustainable. I can't see that being sustainable. Especially if no one wants to use their storefront. Why? Because it's trash. It's trash. The last time I've used the Epic Launcher is, I don't know, 3 years ago? And I don't even remember why. For some reason I was there. I don't even have it installed anymore. Oh, right, I don't have it installed because my Windows crashed completely at the end of last year. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, they have a store no one wants to use. They have an engine that's very complicated, and I can see that it needs a lot of people to build that and maintain that, you know, and fix bugs and stuff like that. Yeah, I can see that. But for Fortnite, a team that huge, why? Why? For what reason? How do they need such a massive team when Grinding G Games has around 1 to 200 people? And they're fine having 2 games, working on 2 games at the same time. Not at the same time, they're switching up. But they have 2 games and they make a profit. Man, what's going on in this company? This company is really, really badly run.
had to guess what's probably costing them the most, well, it's probably their war with Steam. For years now, Epic has tried and failed to compete with Steam, and Sweeney can go online and he can cry about fairness all he wants, but he is the one that is funding exclusives. He is the one funding free games. He is the one trying to corner a market by cornering its players, by backing a platform whose main strategy has been to give away free games while still missing some of the most basic features that people actually use on Steam. They have basically just been handing out free money to developers and free games to players, and neither one of those has translated into any kind of loyalty from their storefront. From 2019 to 2024, Epic Game Store grew by 173%, but their third-party revenue only grew by 1.6%.
Yeah, why is that? Because number one, no one wants to actually use that thing, and they only get there to get the free games. That's the only reason. Why is that? Because the storefront is just bad. It's badly designed, and it's not catered to benefit the players. It's to benefit, well, selling games on their storefront. That's what that's for. If you would just do this, just do the same thing Blizzard, no, not Blizzard. Do the same thing Valve does. Just make a storefront that's catered to the players. And just do that, and things will go fine. At least better than this. Because this is just failure. You're just failing out of your own stupidity. You're trying to do something that doesn't work the way you want to. It's like bashing your head against a stone wall and thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get through it sometime in the future, right? You won't. If you build a door in it, you can just walk through it. And the door through the wall would be just make that thing cater to the players. Just make it a good thing for the players. But you don't do that because the only thing you see is money. Money, 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 money. And you forget that the money has to come from somewhere. The people that use your store. But if no one wants to use it because it's bad, then you don't get any money. It's literally just that simple. It's literally just that simple. And you don't get it because you aren't as smart as you think you are. Or you are too smart to understand that, you know, people are like that.
People would show up for the free games and then leave. They just do not want to spend money there.
Yeah, exactly.
Epic really is no different than the rest of the games industry, and these are the people that everybody's been trying to follow. These are the same problems that's been eating away at everybody. They took their eye off the ball. They stopped focusing on the community and the success that they already had. They stopped making other games. They started chasing somebody else's bag, whether that was Roblox or Steam. Doesn't really matter. Now you got this company that's chasing two dragons.
Remember, they have an unfinished version of Unreal Tournament that you can play. It's completely unfinished. It's free. They just have it laying around. Imagine if they would put the Unreal Tournament out and it had the monetization of Fortnite. It had a better on top of everything else that it already has. Might have been successful for one season. Change up how Fortnite looks, make it look like Unreal Tournament, put in the weapons from Unreal Tournament, things like that could be really cool. But of course you don't do that because that would actually be something. It would be something. Or why is there no official remake of Unreal? I imagine original Unreal made in Unreal Engine 5. That would actually go hard. Because there are never a lot of enemies in the game. at the same time. So you can make it look really awesome and be fun. You can. And actually, one guy is doing exactly that. One guy is doing that. And he's even streaming that process. I think his project is called Unreal Redux. He's recreating Unreal. Great. Awesome. Can't wait for that thing to be finished, and then I will play it. Gonna be cool. But why does Epic doesn't do that? Because they don't care. They just don't care. They don't actually make games. This isn't really a game. It's a storefront with a game in it. At least that's how I see it at this point.
At the exact same time, and they're not going to catch either one of them. They're burning tons of cash, and they should have just stayed focused on protecting what they already built. But now here they are, falling apart at the first sign of trouble. I am shocked more people aren't talking about this. This is such an important development. This is such a massive deal. I don't think people understand just how valuable of a lesson this is for the rest of the industry. I mean, for years now, we've had executives.
But will they learn from it? Will they learn? The people in the East, maybe. The West, no. I think the majority of the developers in the West and the people that run studios are so retarded, they will not learn from that at all.
Executives and investors talk about Fortnite like it's some golden goose, like it's a cheat code for the games industry. If they just copied it, if they just did what they did, if they just monetized it and built it the way that they built their game, then they would be able to make so much money that they would become immune to their own problems. They would just be able to spend past their mistakes because there's always going to be more money on the other side.
Yeah.
Fortnite floundering, it losing relevance right now. This was always going to happen. This is just the reality for every game that will ever come out because, well, things just lose relevance over time. Less people become interested in it. It's not really the fault of the game in some cases, though I definitely think it's actually the fault of their game right now. But, you know, them losing money, them losing relevance right now, it shows the industry that live service, no matter how successful, cannot make up for bad spending, for lack of quality, for ignoring the audience that you already have.
Exactly, and we see that all the time. And hello, Emily. We see that with World of Warcraft. Where else? Call of Duty, Battlefield, Mass Effect. Oh my god, Mass Effect. So there's a TV show in development of Mass Effect, and guess what? They will write it in a way where they completely ignore gamers. They completely ignore games. Oh yeah, we don't care about gamers. We want an audience that is not the people that play the game. And that's how you know the show will fail. It will fail tremendously. Just like the Warcraft movie failed. They made the Warcraft movie and they wanted to appeal to people that don't play the game. And guess what? The movie failed. That's why there's only one movie. And the movie isn't even that good. It's not that good. It's actually one of the most interesting things about the Warcraft movie is that you care more about the CGI characters in this movie than you care about the real people. Because the real people are there's nothing there to actually care about. While for the orcs, they are literally the main protagonists of the entire movie. And they're completely CGI. I also don't understand why they would make the movie not completely CGI. That was most likely the biggest mistake they made. Not having the entire movie being CGI, only 95%. And it's so bad. The entire movie looks like a cinematic of in World of Warcraft, you know, at the beginning of a new expansion. That's what the CGI looks like, and it's great. But then you put that in contrast with there being actual people. It just takes you out. It just looks retarded. It just looks dumb. They should have never made that. They should have gone full balls to the wall. This is for the Warcraft fans. Completely CGI. And that thing would have been way better. Way, way better. Would have been the best animated movie of the year. But no. They made it shit. Like always. That's what they always do. Always, always, always. Oh boy. It's really bad.
This is one of the biggest games in the world, proving that they can't even get away with it. These companies do not know how to protect their audiences. Either that or they're just not interested in it. They're way too busy trying to chase somebody else's. And, you know, now you have one of the biggest games in the entire world that just got caught doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That should be a warning. Like there's no other way to cut that. The question is whether or not this is something that the industry will hear, whether or not this is something that they can recover from, whether or not, let's say they did, let's say it does convince them, whether they even have enough time to be able to go back on this. According to one analyst, they're already out of time.
Which wouldn't surprise me at all. At all. Yeah, what I would expect.
In the last half of that New York Times article, they pivoted to a market analyst where they write, Joost van Duren, a market analyst and professor at New York University, said that Fortnite must compete for attention not only with popular games like Roblox, but also with social media companies like TikTok and short-form videos on YouTube and other platforms. Its problems, he says, are part of a broader shift in the industry, which is growing more in China than it is in the United States.
Yeah.
We're witnessing in real time the decline of American cultural dominance in gaming, Van Duren said. One of these landmarks, like Fortnite, is starting to feel the burn as the consumer entertainment industry is slowly moving from west to east in its financial gravity point. Oh, man, I don't think I have ever...
Yeah, which would not happen if, you know, people would have had families and, you know, would actually create things that are worth a damn. Because that worked just fine in the past. Remember The Lord of the Rings? Huge success worldwide. Why? Because it was created by an awesome guy. Something awesome was created by an awesome guy. Oh, who could have guessed? While all the people that create modern slop are all horrible people. They are all horrible people. You just can't go and look at what they are saying and doing. They are just horrible people. That's why the products they produce are also horrible.
Felt more vindicated. I am outclassing a New York University professor. How about that, guys? Talk about a step up in the world. I've been screaming about this for the better part of 2 years on YouTube. And this is really getting to the heart of the two biggest problems for the Western games industry. First, that they can't hold on to the audiences that they already have. And second, more and more of those audiences are starting to drift east. Now, I've talked about this in other videos, but this situation has only gotten worse year after year. Honestly, I don't even know if I should really even call it a problem at this point, because us players have definitely been benefiting from a lot of this competition in a huge way. But Eastern publishers have slowly but surely been chipping away at the player bases of these giant Western companies for years now, and it's gotten to the point where the foundation is starting to crack and these guys are falling through. Now, I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples because it shows just how much things have changed in just a relatively short amount of time. If I asked you guys, who do you think the king of open world RPGs are? I would guess that most of you guys would probably pipe up with
open world RPGs? Well, at the moment it would be, I would say, Crimson Desert. I mean, what else would it be? I can't see anything else that there is. And before that, it would have been most likely Elden Ring. Oh, right, yeah. There's literally no open world RPG from the West that I know of at all.
from software just because of Elden Ring. Hell, people who don't even play their games would probably assume it's them. Then, for me, at least right behind that, it would be stuff like Neo 2 and 3, and now Crimson Desert, which just kind of came out of nowhere and seems to just get better and better the more that you play it. But rewind that clock about 10 years, and the first name that comes to mind out of
The Witcher 3, I would guess.
anybody's mouth is going to be Bethesda. They were once the defining studio in the industry.
Yeah, but that's more than a decade ago. More than a decade. Bethesda? Wait, Bethesda? Did you say Bethesda or BioWare?
Gonna be Bethesda.
Bethesda. Bethesda haven't made a good game since Skyrim. And even that game was completely buggy. Now they have released, they've published good games that actually work, and are fun. But they aren't made by Bethesda. Bethesda hasn't made a good game in almost 20 years. Almost 20 years.
They were once the defining studio in the industry. Now they're a company that takes 12 years to release a game that is so far off the mark that the only thing people can offer these guys is skepticism or a bunch of videos making fun of them on YouTube. Now, the funny thing is that I don't even think that Starfield is the main problem here. The real problem is that it took them 12 years to make that shitty game. In that same time that it took Bethesda...
I don't believe for a second that game took 12 years to make. Not a second. The game is way too bad, with the exception of the spaceship building thing. That's the only exception that it's actually good. Everything else in the game is just bad. I mean, look at the design of this. Just the design of these dancers is horrible. And then in general, the graphics are horrendous. But that's just the engine. If you run a game on an engine that's over 20 years old, it will look like shit unless you know what you're doing. And they don't even know what they are doing. The problem is they try to make their games look realistic, while the engine can't compete with anything that's on the market that you would have better results doing that. Literally, original Doom looks better than this because it doesn't try to look realistic. It has an art style to it. This doesn't have art style to it. It's just ugly. It's just ugly.
To make one game, an entirely new generation of players has grown up. A whole new customer base came in barely knowing these guys other than just being the studio that keeps re-releasing Skyrim. And in that same stretch of time, we got Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Elden Ring. We got The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. We got Neo 1, 2, and 3. We have a long list of RPGs that came in, took mindshare, took attention, and built fandoms of their own. And if you zoom out across the entire industry, outside of maybe first-person shooters and sports games, the Western industry has damn near surrendered every single genre to Eastern studios.
Yes.
They didn't just lose relevance. These guys gave it away years ago. They stopped innovating. They kept making the same thing. They took forever to be able to make their games, and they abandoned genres outright.
Yes. And going back to Starfield, just one thing. Why would I play Starfield if I could play No Man's Sky? A way superior game. Older, looks better, has more content. Way more content. And I can get it on sale for, I don't know, 25, 30 bucks if I want to. A way better game.
And every year they did that, more player interest just consolidated somewhere else. Now, China is entering into the picture in a way big way. And all this is doing is just making things worse for the West. Now you have this audience with an enormous scale. They have low labor costs and a market that honestly seems a lot more interested in just focusing on gameplay rather than all of the extra baggage that Western publishers just keep piling onto their games. And that is a serious threat to these companies that are already moving way too slow and spending way too much money. I mean, guys, just look at the most beloved games this year so far. You got Neo 3, Resident Evil 9, Crimson Desert, Pokemon Pokopia, Mugenics, Slay the Spire 2, Monster Hunter Stories. 2 of those games are Western. They're both indie games. The rest are all Eastern. These guys are so cooked. Now, what makes
Yeah.
matters even worse is that much of this industry's growth has been coming from Chinese players, people who, by and large, just do not care about Western games, largely because they probably can't even run them. Go look at their Steam reviews. Half of them are just about performance. But when something
Yeah, which is a huge problem. A huge problem. If all your games run on Unreal Engine, yeah, you need a good PC for that. You just do. Unless the game is very well optimized, very well, which most aren't, because the developers don't know how to do that. Which is also why the games run like trash. It's just how things go. Literally.
does hit with that audience, it explodes. Black Myth Wukong sold over 10 million copies in just 3 days. Slay the Spire 2 sold 3 million copies in 3 days, and 43% of those sales came from China. And if you want to see where the center of gravity is shifting, go look at the most played games in China right now. Counter-Strike, Dota 2, PUBG. That is the top 3 played games on Steam. I don't think that people are taking this seriously. This is not just about sales. This isn't about missing a quarter or having a disappointing launch. These guys are losing the habit. They are losing the default position that they used to have for entire genres. That's the part that people are not fully processing here. When players stop looking at you first, when your name stops carrying the same weight, when you have new generations of players that are growing up to be excited about somebody else's game instead of your own, you're not fixing that with a trailer, a patch, or a live service game. You are irrelevant.
Let me just think about what are Western companies, game companies, where I would be excited for them to make a new game and bring it out. Valve. Does New Zealand count as the West? Well, they already brought it out. So Path Excel 1 and 2, so grinding jig games. Yeah, that's literally it. Valve and grinding jig games. I don't care about any other companies because there's none. There's literally none. I can't think of any Western gaming companies where I would go, oh my god, yes, this is going to be awesome. Now, I look forward to some games coming from Western developers, but they are indie developers, or at least small developers. For example, I'm looking forward to the RTS called Dorf, which Dorf is a acronym, but it also a word in German, which means village. Funny. I'm looking forward to that, but I have no idea when this is going to come out at all. So I'm just waiting until it's coming out, and then I will play it, most likely. And well, yeah, that's literally it. But I also have to say that I'm not looking forward to games from outside of the West. I haven't heard of any game coming from the East that I am, oh yeah, I want to play this definitely 100%. Might just be age or that I don't know about games. Both things might be true at the same time. Because I kind of got out of the hobby. I'm not as extreme anymore. Because, age. That's what happens if you get older and more settled in your ways. You don't really care about the new shiny thing anymore. Especially if the new shiny thing is just not as good as the shiny thing that you had in the past. Oh my god. I mean, perfect example for that is the Terminator series of movies. The first 2 Terminator movies, everyone agrees on them being amazing. They were amazing. The first one being a low budget film for $6 million back then. The second one being one of the most successful movies of all time. And the greatest sequel to a movie of all time. Because back in the day, oh yeah, having a sequel to a movie, the sequel is always bad. The movies always get worse than the first one, the original. Terminator 2 was the exact opposite. It was better than the first one. It was tremendously good. I only prefer the first one to the um to the because it's so rough. I like that more. I like the setting more and all of that. That's the only reason. And then Terminator 3 came out, and I watched it actually in theaters, and it was okay. It was not okay sci-fi movie, it was okay. And then the movies just got worse. Worse. And the last two or three Terminator movies lost money. Imagine that. Terminator was a cultural phenomenon in the 80s and 90s, especially in the 90s. It was everywhere. Everyone knew about it. And now no one cares. That's how bad it got.
Western publishers have now spent years trying to engineer success from the outside in. More money, more developers, more management, more systems, more monetization, more market research, more trend chasing, more how do we capture this audience, more how do we increase our engagement. Everything is built around extracting a bigger result instead of just creating a stronger product. So what comes out on the other side is just going to feel hollow again and again. Expensive, polished, maybe technically impressive, sure, but ultimately hollow because you guys do not care about the product itself. You can feel when a game is built by people that are trying to build something that players love, and you can feel when something is built by people that are trying to secure a return. Meanwhile, a lot of these games that are actually pulling players right now understand a much simpler truth. Just make a good game, make a fun game, make something with a strong identity, a clear fantasy. Momentum really matters right now. Make something that people are going to be immediately excited to talk about. That's what you want to do. Not every single Eastern game is doing this. Not every indie game is doing this, but enough of these guys are doing it that it's becoming impossible to ignore. Players want a game that feels like they know what they are rather than these games that come out that are still trying to figure out who they're being made for. They want games that commit. They want games that are confident in themselves. And in the West, for a long time now, that's just not been the case. That's why Fortnite stumbling matters so much right now. This was the untouchable one. This was the golden goose that every single executive treated like it was the blueprint. Everybody wanted one of these games. And now that even that is cracking, even that Fortnite is now proving that you can't outrun weak direction, overspending, and a drifting audience forever, that should be the lesson. These guys need to learn from it. You cannot fix this industry by chasing the next dragon. You can only fix it by remembering why players showed up.
Remember, I did a video about live service games and how the industry is doing. And it's here. It's here. Come on. It's why is this even here? Stupid. Where was it? Here. It's here. And I made a list, as the German I am, and I wrote down all the live service games that I could find that came out since the beginning of 2024. And half of them failed. Half of them failed. And if half of these games failed, but some of them are still running and alive, but I don't know how because the player numbers are so low. And that's just from the last 2 years. And now Fortnite is not making a profit. That should tell you everything about live service games.
Epic is essentially just doing the exact same thing as every single other game publisher right now. They're just chasing everybody else's tails. They're running out of ideas. Either that or they are just so fixated on somebody else's money, on somebody else's audience that they just can't get it off their mind. So the only thing that they focus on is, well, user-generated content, retention, metrics, whatever it is. We have to think about the attention economy. No, you don't. You need to think about trying to make a better game. This is what I mean about these guys being focused on trying to extract a bigger result rather than just trying to make a better product. Funny thing is, better products sell.
Yeah.
When you look across the industry, do you look at a lot of these games that are just absolutely crushing it right now and also crushing our wallet as a result of it?
Yeah.
The reason why these
True.
games are doing so well is because that is their only fixation. They only care about trying to make the best game that they probably can. They're not worried about trying to reach for somebody else's audience or somebody else's money. No.
Yeah.
These guys realize that that is a byproduct. You reach that goal by getting to it through the audience that you have and through the success that you find. It's all about just making a better product with no detours. The reason why a lot of these Eastern games have been doing so well over the past couple of years is I think it's because these guys just don't have the time to be able to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies that are coming in are either fresh to the industry or they're breaking into new genres or new markets. So what ends up happening is they don't really care about things like retention or anything like that. The only thing that they care about is whether or not they can get you to show up. They'll figure out everything else after the fact. So that's what they're building these games for. They're building these games so you at least show up. And
yeah,
I think that's kind of one of the most important lessons of all is that a lot of these companies got away from building games that people show up for.
Oh,
Kinda, you know, need us to be there first before you start trying to take our money, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know if any of these guys are going to be able to learn from this. It's like a two-sided thing. Like
they can't. That needs intelligence. And one example where success is there is again grinding G games. They know their niche that they are making the game for. If additional people come in and play it, they are happy about it. But they don't develop the game just to get new players. Now in Path of Exile 2, they try to get new players into the game, but not by sacrificing their old players. They want to have both. Satisfying old players and getting new players at the same time by just making a good game. Now you can argue that, oh my god, they failed. They didn't. They have some problems, but they didn't fail. I mean, it's a live service game. They just continue working on it. Just like they continue working on Path of Exile 1, which has a fan base, a consistent player base. People show up, they like the game, and that's just how it is. And they wanna and hopefully will do the same for Path of Exile 2. I mean, I have played every season of Path of Exile 2 so far. And yeah, I didn't regret it. I didn't regret spending 500, almost $600 on grinding G games. And yes, grinding G games, not Path of Exile 1 or 2, because that's combined. I gave that company around $600, I think, for 12 or 14 years of playing their games. Yeah, I think that's fair. I spent more money on World of Warcraft, and there I actually regret spending that money, because damn, that game kind of ruined my life. Not good. Not in a good way. Just not good.
One, are they actually ever going to be able to learn from any of these issues? And then two, is there actually enough time for a lot of these guys to be able to do so? I think, after all the layoffs that we've seen over the past couple of years, I think that there's going to be something more drastic that's going to hit probably soon. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I don't know who it's all going to hit. It's probably going to hit basically every single one of these companies. They've been taking so many financial losses, massive financial losses for a while, that it's too much to ignore. It's too much for their shareholders to ignore. And you're just going to see this mass displacement of talent. You're going to see people.
Fun fact, Sony has not released one successful live service game. And they had 6 in the workings, if I remember correctly. Or they had 12 in the workings and shut down 6 before they even released. And the ones that released, they all failed. The last one, Marathon. By the way, Marathon. How about Marathon? How's Marathon doing? By the way, Arc Raiders is not doing great. Not doing great. I literally made a video about that yesterday. But how is Marathon doing? Yeah. Yesterday, 35,000. I've seen yesterday below 10,000 people. I think even below 9,000. So yeah, Marathon is done. Marathon is completely done. How's Destiny doing? Destiny 2. How is Destiny 2 doing? Oh. Even worse than Marathon. Even worse than Marathon. Who could have guessed? Who could have guessed? Yeah. Now, if you want to be very, very critical, let's go Path of Exile 1. Because there's a season running right now. You go for 1 month, 3 months. Yeah, it's down, very down. But that's normal. That's a normal cycle. The last one did the same. The 2 last ones did the same. That's just normal. It's a little more steep than over there, but that's fine. How is Path of Exile 2 doing? Most likely worse. 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Damn, it's almost 6 months ago when it came out. On December 12th? Oh my god. Yeah, I really hope they have. Damn. Yeah, but that's also normal. It will, when the next season comes out, that it will go up again. Most likely higher than the Druid League. Because they will have the new end game in it. Hopefully, if everything goes right.
We'll just all over the place. A ton of indie studios, probably some of these Eastern studios are also going to pick up some of these guys as well. It's not like there aren't talented developers at some of these Western companies. It's the problem is they just have horrible leadership.
Yes.
Really some of the worst, most misguided leadership in the entire industry.
Because they're crazy. A lot of these people are just crazy. Literally.
So, I don't know, man. Live service is definitely not the answer. That's not to say that live service games can't be good or that you can't make one. The problem is
remember, in the team that made Concord, I think it was Concord, yes. There was a person there. You had to call them professor. They weren't a professor, but you had to call them because they said that, I don't know, they identify as that, and HR went with it because, of course, HR went with it. People in HR are just as crazy as these people. Yeah, I can see that person ever getting a job in any Eastern developer studio.
Is that when you think it's the answer to all of your problems, you need to have a better plan than that. A lot of these guys don't. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of what's going on here. Are you celebrating the fall of a giant?
Yes.
Kind of, a little bit.
Yes.
Share it on social media. Share it with your friends. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool. Stay righteous. Stay safe. Peace.
Family.
Good video.
Family.
Good video. That goes scale. Because I reacted to it. Oh boy. That was something.